Hey guys, welcome back. This is the WTF series on the Clarity Through Chaos YouTube channel. I'm your host, Fiona Hardwick, and joining me today is our spiritual teacher, writer, and speaker, Tia Russ. If you guys are new here, this channel is all about helping you transform your relationship with yourself. We're looking at that through the lens of real life experience. If that sounds like fun to you, make sure you subscribe to our channel, turn on post notifications, and comment on the video below. To dance?
Love you.
I'm
That's
gonna eat
so good.
donuts. I don't
I
want
honestly don't realize how much I talk.
to.
Yeah, I was like, honestly, if I could just do this for a living forever.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. You know, did I meant to send this to you on Instagram. Do you follow Alex Cantone?
Alex Canto, why is it something I
You
probably do?
probably do. She's a self-projected projector and she just did the funniest reel. And I was like, Tia, is this what it's like living with you? Like she just kept popping up out of nowhere. She's like, hey, got a minute to chat? Hey, what are you doing? Want to chat? Like it was so funny. I was like, oh my God, this must be Tia.
Was it with herself? Like,
Well, no, there was a second person. Like they were traveling together and her friend was like trying to do work and Alex just like kept popping up like randomly. It was so funny.
I don't know if I follow her. The name sounds familiar, but
All
I
right, I'm
wonder.
gonna send it to you. It was so good.
Yeah, I honestly don't realize how much I talk until somebody's like, "You talk so much." But because, like, in my normal work situations, I didn't talk as much because
Yeah.
I was more of the listener. So it was
Yeah.
just like, I'm like, George, my boyfriend, I'm like, I don't talk that much to my friends. Like, really? I'm like,
He's like,
I just
ladies, who
tell
are
you
you
everything because
kidding?
you're my boyfriend. And he's like, he's like,
I
you're
love
lying.
it.
You're lying.
I love it.
No, I think the awareness. I'm like, yeah, yeah,
All right, so I want to what I want to talk about today is desire, and I want to get your thoughts. Like, what's the immediate thing that pops in your head when you hear the word desire?
I just think want. I just think I want. I also think passion, to be honest. Like those
Mm,
are the two, like want and passion. I mean, sometimes I take it to the romantic side because I often listen to desire as something like outside of what you already have. And so
mm.
it's this, you're in a relationship or you're at the same job or whatever. I always think it's like the thing that's like right outside of what you have that you really want.
Oh, I
Temptation.
love that so much. So the reason I wanted to talk about this is it just like kind of popped in my head. Like people have desires, like you said, it's kind of outside of where they're at and like what they really, really want. And a lot of people have fear around that. Like they push their desires off to the side and say, "Oh, well, I can pursue my love of XYZ after I have this much money in the bank or after work or after I take care of the kids or after like they have a really hard time putting themselves and their own desires and passions first. And I'm wondering like do you see that in your work a lot?
All the time.
Mm.
I literally was just having this conversation, but it wasn't in the context of desire. It was in the context of just having a dream. I was just having this
Mm.
convo yesterday where it's interesting. I'll tell you, I think people want to hear this. So, my friend who has grown up with me, who's really close to my sister, was over yesterday. They were both over at my house and she goes to me, the only thing I don't like about your Instagram videos is that you tell people and like you're inspired by things and you want them to go for what they want in life and you want them to live a passionate life, but like that's also privilege. And so it's interesting. Okay, so I was like,
Mm.
okay, tell me more about this. And mind you, she comes from the same background I do. There's not much difference except she works with homeless youth.
Mm.
So for her it's like looking at this like frame of mind of like you're telling people to go for what they want, to have what they desire, to go for like that thing that makes them tick. But how can they if like they're still like in this other mode? I think that's what you're saying about like most of us will just kind of excuse or be like, oh my God, but I don't have the money, or oh my God, I'm too old for it now, or what, like whatever, like
Yes.
all the other things. You be
Mhm.
20 and be like, I'm too old to pursue modeling. You're like, and it's like these like crazy things. And I think that desire is right outside of our actual comfort zone. It's exactly like that. It's like the minute that you switch or you move a corner, that's where desire is. And I think people are so afraid because I think that if we have something that we desire, we're afraid to go for it. And then
Yeah.
because we're afraid to go for it, it's really because we're not going to be comfortable. And then what if it doesn't work? Then we're going to be super uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
I think that just having her tell me that yesterday, I thought to myself, well, it's not fair to just limit people or think that you're limited because your desires are still there. Like
Yeah.
they still live there. So what do you do with them?
Right.
Do you
Right.
go 90 years of a lifetime and be like, I'm not going to look at that. No, 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 no. And it's not fair. So even if you don't have a ton of money or if you don't have, the best situation, it's like people still want.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
that's
agree. And
where
you know what? I think even like prime example, you saying like what we're doing right now, you wish you could do that every day. Same. Like that is my desire, that is my want. And I had a lot of fears I had to work through to even get to this point, to feel comfortable talking and recording it. And, the idea of posting it on YouTube where I could get rejected. That's like my big thing is like, oh, that fear of rejection. Like how am I going to be perceived? Are the people that know me well, like, are they going to, think I'm talking crazy because some of my ideas or some of my beliefs are a little, not the
so
norm?
fun. They're fun. They're very fun.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I try. So yeah, I think that's such a good point. Like there is a lot of that scarcity mentality or that lack mentality that keeps people stuck. And there's a lot of fears, and those fears are real. So I think, doing the work like that you do with tarot or whatever, whatever people feel comfortable with. It's like diving in to say, like, why don't I feel safe to pursue this desire?
I'll tell you something that you touched on right now. So I really want to share this with people because I think if you follow me already or if you've seen my stuff, it seems simple and it seems easy for me to just post and kind of be like, oh, I do tarot and oh, blah, blah.
Mhm.
I came from a world of your image is very much important because I came from the corporate world, but I also came from the beauty corporate world. So everything you do, how you look, are your nails done? Like, what are you saying to people? Sales, it's all the same. So you have this image. I was afraid to start telling people online that I do tarot. Like, I had to talk to George. I had talked to my sister. I was like, what if people find out I do tarot and nothing happens because nothing happened. But like in my head, you're
You
like,
built up this
well,
huge story.
you do. And I was just like, I don't know what happened, but I just realized like I have nothing to lose, or even putting like my stories online. I still struggle with it because I'm like, well, what if people judge me? And it's not so much I care about strangers judging me, it's about my reputation.
Yeah.
Because I came from that mentality, if I ever have to go back to the corporate world, I don't want people to ever think like, oh, she's just not like nuts.
Yeah.
However, if you know me, you know I'm not nuts, but I don't think it's a secret. I don't think even before I started doing tarot, I don't think it was ever a secret that I desired a different life and that I was untraditional in a lot of the way I thought and a lot of the way that I felt amongst my peers. So, you know, it's not like
Yeah.
I was like doing anything different. It was just a matter of like actually going for what I desired.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
still myself. So
Totally.
I don't know. I think when people have desires, and desires can be anything, and that's why I struggle because people are not really willing to even admit their desires.
Mhm.
And I do think there's a little bit of a reality check sometimes because nowadays, like this whole idea of I'm just gonna quit my corporate job. I have a lot of responsibilities. I'm just gonna quit it because I see all these people being YouTube famous. Like there is a level of I don't know. I don't know if that's a limited belief of mine, but there's a level of just reality where I'm like, okay, like it may take time to build a YouTube channel. So once my clients, try and keep it real with them. I'm sorry, my kids. Hold on. Maybe they'll stop. So anyway, hold
They're
on.
getting excited. They like this topic.
They did like we desire to go out. Kids. Sorry. So anyway, when I'm with my clients, I really feel like my issue is, hearing them say, like, I really want to, I don't know, maybe work in New York. And like they live in like Philadelphia. I'm like, why is that such a stretch? Like I understand it would involve change. It would involve getting out of
Yeah.
your comfort zones. I understand it. But they're not asking to be like Tyra Banks, like a beautiful model, and like they're like 60. Like there's not necessarily, you know what I mean? Like you could still be a model at 60. I'm just saying, like starting there, it's like there's a level of like there are some things that are truly like possible, I think, and there are
Mm.
other things where it's like even the most possible things, people are just like, no, no.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
what you touched on is it being right outside your comfort zone. Like that's super important. And also, your desires are here for a reason. And I think we have a lot of conditioning. I mean, that's not a surprise. Like societally, within your home, within your, how you were parented, how you grew up, your background, your whatever. And it's funny because I've been noticing it a lot. Like people are starting to be a little more daring. I don't know what's happening energetically. It might be this whole like Aquarian age that we're stepping into, but I find that people are like, you know what? Like it's now or never. I'm going to step in and I'm going to move here and start doing art and start, feeling and see what happens. Like some people are really just meant to do their own thing. And I think that is like what you were saying, like if it is pursuing a YouTube channel or it is, being seen or whatever, that's great. But some people, that's not what it's about. Like it's their own journey. It's being a little bit more selfish. It's creating. It's, not worrying about what everybody else is doing and just really focusing on yourself. Like that's just as important
Hmm.
because you're going to inspire other people to also their path and they're like, well, I don't see anybody doing that. I just see, you know T and Fiona doing XYZ, but this guy's over here and they're doing that, and it's like, just forget about it, just focus on what it is that you want. It's so so important.
It is, and I think that it's so hard because I think the problem is people don't know what they desire half the time.
Mm.
They have the inkling inside, but I think part of the issue that I see a lot with my clients is they're like, "Well, I don't know what I want." So like we'll go through if I'm pulling cards
Well,
and I'm
time
like,
out. Do they not know, or do they not want to admit?
whew, heavy. I think it's a combo. I think it's a real big combo, but I do
Mm.
think some people really don't because like I'll be like, "Well, what do you like to do for like your hobbies? Like tell me if money was an issue, if you weren't getting paid, what would
Mm-hmm.
you do?" Like that's always my question. Like what would you really
Yep.
do if money didn't exist? It wasn't about the currency. Um, and they'll give me ideas and they'll know like, well, I'm a good painter and they kind of know what they're good at. But what I do is if I really get a client like that, even a friend or somebody I meet, I like take them back to the core. And I'm like, I need you to write down 10 talents and strengths.
Mm.
Usually what they'll do is they'll write down 3 or 4. And then I have to tell them what they're really good at, even if I've only seen them one time, because people outside you can see what you're good at.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, this is what you're good at. Would you say that you're good at this? And they're like, well, yeah, I guess. But the assumption is that, and this is where the hard thing about pursuing your desires comes in, is that you feel like just because I'm like this, isn't everybody like this? And what makes me so special? Literally, like it's like what makes
Yes,
me so
100.
special that
I totally do that myself. I'm like, well, who the hell wants to hear about what I'm going through?
you're like, yeah, like okay, it's like my like what that's exactly it. But I also think like and then the opposite, if you talk to older generations, like people my sister's age were like 39, 40s, they're confused by this generation. They're like, wait, why does everybody think they're a celebrity? Like everybody thinks they got something to say or something to, and I challenge them because I'm also just like, well, what's the alternative?
Right.
If they do have something to say, if they do have something to share, like what the hell? Why am I to tell them to shut up or not be able to say what they want to say or create whatever they want to create? Or if, like, and I think there's um it's hard, and I think I'm at the age where I'm 30 and you're probably the same place where it's like we kind of have a little bit of the limited belief set, like sometimes the mentality of the older
Oh,
generations,
yeah.
and we're like, but wait, what? I actually want that limitlessness and to pursue
Yes.
my desires,
Yeah.
you know?
I totally
So
agree.
yeah, so just the idea, like and it's so hard. Like even myself, I think if I had to talk about what do I desire, like let me just, I mean, let's like I think we should both talk about what do we desire. Like let's
Good one.
the good so and I've been sitting with this because I have recently seen, I haven't been getting as many readings the last few weeks, and in some way like other things have been popping up, and I'm like, I was like super overwhelmed. I had so many readings going on, it would drain my energy, and I'm like, like I'm just gonna trust the universe on this. Maybe I'm just meant to see it a certain amount of people a week to keep myself balanced. And then I was just like, hold on, I'm trying to build this package out to do like an 8-week program with my clients, right? And you know this. And I'm like, it's not working. The email goes nowhere, blah, blah, blah. Nobody needs to hear that story. I'm like, maybe I'm just not listening to my desires.
Mm.
So, what are my desires? I want to do speaking engagements.
Mm,
My end goal is that. That has been my thing for forever. It's not that I want to be YouTube famous or Instagram famous or any of those things. I think sometimes is the, people have that kind of desire when they're on social media. It's more because I'm almost doing everything to plant seeds because my ultimate desire is to become a profound known speaker and writer. And it's more the speaker than it is even probably the writer. I just
mhm,
think there's some steps because I love to write and I've been writing my books, but it's really the speaking engagements that I want to do.
mm,
That's my desire. Okay.
right.
I do think that people, when they're going for their desires, there's a building element to it, right? Like Gary Vee didn't become Gary Vee at like, just by talking to the internet. He was in his dad's liquor store for 8 years, building the experience before all of a sudden he did like a wine thing online that ended up taking him to that next phase, right?
Right.
So I do think that there's an element of like kind of knowing what you want to do and kind of being honest about your desires, but then being open to like what the process will look like.
Hmm.
So I think that's where I'm at. And I'll tell you, like, most of my stuff in my life has become really accidental because my desire has always been to be in front of an audience, to speak. Like, I love that since I was young. The capacity, I had no idea. For such a long time, I was like, no, I'm going to be a head trainer of a makeup brand and like speak in front of everyone. Like, I mean, and still now that job, like, I love it. It's so exciting to me, not fulfilling.
Yeah.
So, where did the energy shift? Where did the universe take me to say we trained you in all this? I was a trainer. I worked in the industry. I worked in other industries. Where is this meant to take me? I don't know, but I have a feeling it's all connected.
Mm.
So that's my desire. What's your desire?
I love your desire, and I love how it's played out through the years. Like it's always kind of been there, and you've tried different paths and different avenues, and you're able to release what didn't work and try something new. Like that's really powerful too. I really love that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. It's made me quote unquote scattered to some people, but it's more so that I doors closed and I had
But
to
some
reopen
people
them. Like,
are like, I kind of hate that word scattered. Like some people are meant, their energy is meant to be that way, you know? So I hate when it's like you're kind of put in a box and it's like, well, don't put me in your damn box. I got my own
I
box.
agree with you. I totally agree. And like I get it from everyone. I even get it from my like sister who like yesterday finally admitted she was like, I just worry about you, but like, I feel like you can handle things. And I'm like, thanks. Like I was actually moved by it. I was like half like sarcastic, but also half like moved by it because I was
Yeah,
like, thank you for respecting me. Like you have to understand,
yeah,
like I know that what you want is what you want, what you desire, but what I desire is just different,
right.
And it's scary. It's hell scary. Let me tell you. Are you kidding? Like, I'm afraid half the time. I'm afraid all the time.
Yeah.
I'm really, the whole thing is a challenge. It is
Well,
not
that
like
open
I don't
spleen
tell people
too.
quit your jobs and come on private. Dude, I'm exhausted. And I'm literally like in my head, I'm like, yeah, I am doing something untraditional. And then like I go to like, I went to a bachelorette party this weekend. Everyone's like buying a house and like has a traditional job and like doing all these things. And like this one girl came up to me. She's like, you're brave. Like this is a very interesting thing that you're doing. Like I'm intrigued, but it's brave. And I'm like, I am gonna go to bed because
Yep, I'm done.
I, one, I was glad she appreciated, like she was trying to tell me a compliment, right?
Yeah,
Because I think people are not willing to even like step into their desire
yep,
just a little bit,
yep, yeah.
So I'm proud of myself, damn it. As much
I'm
as like
proud of
I
you
don't know
too.
where to go. Thank you, mom. You know, like I am standing in my zone. So anyway, I want to know what you desire.
Okay, what I desire. So I've always I've always done things non-traditionally. Always. After high school, everybody went to college. I was like, "No, I'm not into college. I'm gonna do hairdressing school." Even when I did hairdressing, I worked in a salon for a bit and I was like, "Nah, this is boring," And I started working in television and things like that, traveling, blah blah blah. Even like with the kids, I had my kids so young. I got remarried. I had another kid. Like, I just don't do things that are expected. most of the time.
Very nice.
Yeah, and even like
Or your parents are like,
they
it's true.
stopped because you know what? They tried in the beginning. They're like, "No, you have to go to college." Da, 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 da. And I was like, "No, I don't. Why?" And they were like, "What?" And I'm the oldest, so I'm like their first kid. So they're like, "What?" This like, "What do you mean?"
How are you tell the other kids they can't go to college? Like, what the hell?
And I was like, "No, I'm going to hairdressing school. Like, we're gonna see what happens. Like, whatever." And it ended up being a really successful career for me. I did great. And then, you know, I was like, "I don't wanna do this anymore." And they're like, "What do you mean? It's a great job. You make great money. You get to travel. You get to do this." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm bored. I don't wanna do it anymore. I'm bored. I'm tired. It's not fun." And I refuse to live a life that's not fun. It's just not gonna happen. So I would say my desire for my personal life is I love being around my kids. I love being a mom and to be with them as much as I can without going totally crazy. I love hanging out with my husband. We love to travel. I love to be like, I'm bored. Let's go take a trip. I like to be spontaneous and kind of go with the flow. Um, so besides that, like career-wise, I would say my desire is really to impact people.
Hmm.
I know that I have a capacity to heal because I've gone through so much in my life, and I think by example of like being able to go through these super hard things and survive them and come out stronger on the other side, like when I was going through the hardest parts of my life, I was always looking around me like, okay, this person can do it and that person did it and look at where they are now. Like if they did it, I can do it. So for me, that translates in, doing this with you, doing the podcast, things like that, because talking is such an easy thing for me. I've been a hairdresser for 15 years. I can talk to anybody. Like you put anyone in front of me and I'm going to walk away with their whole life story. My husband's like, he's known people for years and years, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, and then did you know about her mom and this and that?" And he's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" He's like, "You were there for 15 minutes." I'm like, "I know. It just happens, it just happens." But I think there's so much power in that, and there's so much strength in that. And so I guess, yeah, that would be my desire is really to
Showing up with your
explore that.
truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. That is so nice. And I think it's so funny. It's like, so then why do we desire that specific thing? And you kind of hit the head on the why you desire what you desire,
Mm,
not just what you desire. And I think that's kind of cool because I think that's important to know. And I
mm,
think that's where we can kind of get lost. Or if we're
yes.
telling people go ahead and pursue what you love, and you're not asking them why they love it or like what is behind the desire. Because I will tell you, desire can be confused for expectation.
Ooh.
And
Ooh. Say it again.
desire can be confused for expectation.
Yes. Yes, slow clap, Tia. Slow
It's so,
clap.
I mean, I've lived it. That's why I'm saying this. And I
Same.
think,
That's my biggest shadow. That's my biggest shadow, my expectation. And then I implode whatever else is happening because I'm like, well, it's not what I expected. But it's like, that's not for us to decide.
yes, and that isn't for us to decide. I haven't figured that out fully yet because
Well,
I'm like,
we're
I don't know,
still
this
in
is
the
my life.
journey. And you're still only 30. Like, what's going on with your Saturn return? Are you still like coming out of your Saturn return?
I just am about to come out of it. So I think that, um, you know, it's interesting. I really feel like I had to, I'm an ambitious person. It's something that's
You
just
don't
in me.
say.
I came out of the womb like this. It is what it is, man. Like I'm here to hang out. Like I am
Yeah.
here to get this done, right? Like I
Mm,
just am. Like, but I'm not necessarily like a hustler. Like I think that's where, like I was saying, desire and expectation. So I literally was like, I desire. I know I want more for myself. I see where I could be. I see myself speaking. I don't know what's a capacity. And then all of a sudden, my expectation was I gotta be here by a certain age. Oh my god, I better be in the corporate world. Oh my god, I gotta make sure that I'm making this much money.
right.
So like where like you have to kind of meet your desire and your expectation or let this go
Yeah.
and just let the desire be there, pursuing what you can and not be mean to yourself. I'm on
Yeah.
this stage right now. So um I'm trying to throw it out. It's hard though, because like I also have these limiting beliefs around money. And I think a lot of people who are ambitious and want to create an impact like you do, want to make a difference, want to help people, so deeply want to do that. But sometimes their desires don't necessarily match the money.
Right.
Can it? 100%. But I'm just saying, like, people just don't know if their desires are ever worth it because, again, it's that survival aspect. I got to pay my bills. I got to, take care of my kids. I got to, make sure that we're good. And I think that I'm at the point in my life where it's not an option that those two things don't combine.
Right. But
I'm
you
open to
also
how it
like,
plays out.
yeah, you also recognize that sometimes that can be a little limiting, right? When you're
100,
like
100. Yes.
you're playing two sides. You're like, "Oh, I'm following my desires, but I'm still trapped here in this place where I'm scared." Right? Are we fully
Yes.
trusting? Are we fully being open to whatever happens? Because I mean, I've been experimenting with this for a while and it's really a strong belief of mine. Is like if you follow your desires, there's always a higher purpose in that. Whether you can see it or you can't. If
Mhm.
your desire is to go lay on the beach and create art, there's a reason you're desiring that. And like you
Mhm.
need to try it. You need to try it. You need to
Can I
say,
switch out my desire? Can I switch out my desire? That sounds like
"Listen, I'm throwing my sister under the bus right now. Not under the bus. I'm putting her on a spotlight because that's exactly what she did. She left today for Costa Rica.
my God, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
she's going to be there
Yoga.
for 2 weeks, maybe longer. And she's just getting back in touch with nature. She's brought her art supply. She's going to keep creating. She's going to follow just what comes up. But that was her desire. And she's like, Feed, is this crazy? Should I do it? I'm like, no, it's not crazy. Society tells you it's crazy, but like your work is remote. You can take readings while you're out there. You can work with people the same way you're doing here in Connecticut, you can do from Costa Rica. So if you feel a desire and a calling to go, you have to go. I mean, I also have the calling to go, but like mine is for fun. I don't feel like in my soul is like get to Costa Rica today. It's like get there, but maybe in a couple years.
I mean, I get it. Like it's like what your urgency is and what your
Yeah.
what is your desire? What is your
Yes.
like I've always the problem is I think that people have judged me who like want to put me in the box
Mhm.
because I think I've always followed my desires.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been called selfish for it. And not
Oh,
because I'm selfish,
I wanna
I've been
talk
called,
about that word, but finish your story, yeah.
but that's where I'm like realizing as you're talking, I'm like, oh, you're right. Desires are not just like big picture what you want in your life. It's the little desires. It's
Yeah.
like, I I don't know what the hell. I like there's some moments I look back and I'm like, did I really do that? But I did.
Yeah.
I did. And I like look back at my 20s and I cry sometimes because I lived so much and I didn't
Yeah.
say no to myself. I just like, oh look, yes. Oh wait, yes. Oh wait,
And
yes.
let me ask you, how was your life? Did you feel in flow? Were you happy?
It was good, man. I was like, I mean, I remember calling my mom. I finished like I was working for a nonprofit at the time, and the gala ended the next day. I said, "Mom, I'm booking a trip to Greece. Can you call my aunt and tell her I'll be there like in a week?" And she's like, "What?" I'm like, "Tell Thea aunt that I'm gonna be there in a week. Like, they live in a village. They're amazing people. I love them so much." She goes, "You want to go there for a month and a half?" She goes, "Okay." I called her. So like in my like because I think everybody at first, especially if your family, will be like challenge you on the things you desire, but then they're like, especially if you're doing something out of the box in the moment,
Yep.
they're like jealous a little bit. They're like,
Yeah.
you know what? Go do that. But can
Yeah.
I come with? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
there's something there that like the more that we honor what we desire,
Yeah.
even if it's being selfish. Then I want you to talk about what you were gonna say. Um, it gives people permission,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
yeah,
I
that's
don't
the
think
truth.
selfish is a negative word. It's become a very negative word, but it's really important.
So
Your
important.
only commitment is to yourself, period. I can't be the things I want to be to my children, to my partner, to my family if I am not honoring what I need first. period. And it has been so conditioned to believe that like, oh, but what about this and what about that? And like what you said about your family being the first to kind of put you back in that box, like it's not your responsibility to fit into their box. Your responsibility is to yourself, first and foremost.
Right.
And
100%.
yeah, I'm so done with this word selfish. Like, not that I'm done with the word selfish, I'm done with the negative connotation that it has. So, being selfish is really positive. It's been something that I've really tried to strive for because I lived a life where I wasn't selfish at all. And I was always like, okay, 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 okay.
Oh,
And here's a story.
heartbreaking.
Before I got divorced, I went to a therapist. And, we had had a few sessions. She was really great. And we sat down there and she was like, "Okay, I know you're in a tough spot and, the person you're with is what it is. But it takes two to tango. So I need you to look at yourself and see what you could have done differently in this relationship because if you don't do that, your next relationship will end the same way. It'll be the same thing that it is now and you're not in a happy place right now." And I stopped and I was like, oh, it's so easy, especially in a relationship, to point the finger. Well, he does this and he does that and he did this and he said that. And I had to look in the mirror. And my number one thing is I wasn't honest with what I wanted.
Mm.
I never I never stood up for myself in saying, "No, I actually don't like that. I actually don't want to do that." I was so easygoing. I had such a trigger around people telling me I was easygoing because I was like, "Oh my God, I have opinions. I've just never felt safe to express them." Right?
Yeah, it wasn't just
I have
opinions.
wants, like it's simple. Hey, where do you want to go for dinner? Oh, I want Chinese. Well, I want Italian. Okay, fine, let's get Italian. But I don't
Mm.
want Italian. Like it's those simple little moments. And how it showed up in that marriage was that I was denying those to myself to make my partner happy. And in the long run, when I started to show my desires and my wants and my needs, it was like, whoa, 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 you changed. You're different.
So really admitting the wants and desires, especially in partnership. Oh my God. So that's interesting. So he's like, no, you changed. You didn't change. You just never said it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
And
no.
then it really helped me. When I went into my next partnership, which is my current husband, from the get-go, I was like, "Oh, I want Chinese, you want Italian? Guess what? We're gonna order both and we're gonna go pick them both up and we'll eat at home." And that was that. You know what I mean? Like I would just like was like, "Oh my God, I won't do this again." Because it's
Good.
so
You.
easy. It's so easy to fall back into it. But yeah, that just like sparked that kind of memory. But it's true. And I think as women especially, you're not trained to follow your desires or your wants or your needs. I mean, even now, like, I know you're not a mom yet, but being a mom, you see like self-care. Oh, I got to take a shower.
But
That's not self-care. That's basic hygiene. You have a right to take a shower.
take a shower. This is ridiculous. Okay, the infant can fend for itself. I'm a not parent.
I know, I know.
I'm like, figure it out, Susie. I'll be back.
Yes, yes, but it's like the simple thing of and we're starting to see it mold now. But the simple thing of a mom being like, "Hey, I need some time. I need to go somewhere by myself. I need to go have lunch with my girlfriends." Like those things are so important and forever it's not been allowed for women, I think, in my experience.
Not follow their desires. Oh my
Yeah.
God. And it's so true. And it's hard. Like I was really blessed that I saw a different duality within my parents
Mm,
because it's like my dad had a lot of desires, my mom had a lot of desires, and I could see like from what I could see on the outside, like, and maybe they were different then and they didn't end up pursuing desires, but just looks like they're happy now. I don't know. But
right.
what I'm saying is like my mom was so stubborn in what she wanted and is still so stubborn in her desires that
Well,
my
she is a
parents have had to, like,
Scorpio.
they're both Scorpio,
Oh,
bless
they
them.
are.
I,
Oh, wow. I'm surprised no one
yeah,
burned the house down.
and it's so funny. They're such different people, but that like they get each other. It's like this
Yeah.
weird like psychic thing they have, where it's like I'm like, Mom, like how does dad? Like she just like knows him and he knows her. But the thing is, it's funny because my mom always seemed to pursue her desires, and in
Mhm.
some way, it didn't maybe make her the most nurturing mom. But
Mm.
she does the best she can, and she's like so there for our family. But I was little. I think it's different based on like
You're
little
also a
kids'
Cancer
perspective.
moon.
I
We
just
have,
don't.
I'm the same way. Like like our idea of nurture is like a little, no, I don't want to say extreme, but like,
Totally.
it's a thing. Yeah.
And I think that it's like, my mom had her own business and did her own thing, and like very untraditional at the time for a woman to run her own business and like
Hmm.
do like literally just did it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
in some way, like my dad, he had like a good job, but like he had other desires. So like he was really involved in politics, and he did like on the side, like he really just did what he loved. And I think there's two ways to go about it. So I feel like when people are pursuing their desires, like yeah, it's like a mom who's like, "Oh, I have kids." It's like, oh, it's okay. You can have your kids. You can do that. You can have a level of not self-sacrifice, but like realize that other people may come ahead of you in that moment, and that's okay. But you still don't betray yourself. You do
Hmm.
not let yourself suffer for an extensive amount of time. That is where you start to also like you start to stop trusting yourself.
Yes.
It becomes it really becomes a effed up cycle. Like it
Yeah.
really does. And I think that's where then women and moms get resentful. And
Yeah.
they get resentful towards their kids, towards their partners, and they're
Yep.
like, you didn't let me do this. No, I didn't let me do this.
Yes.
You know what
It
I
comes
mean?
down to the boundaries. And, you know, boundaries can be seen as selfish, right?
I've always had boundaries and people have always told me I'm selfish. And I'm like,
Yes.
no, my life, my world. And it's funny because my sister, we've always fought on this, right? Because
Yeah.
she is like, she's the elder sister and she's got her desires are just like more traditional, I would say.
Yeah.
Or like maybe they're closer to what she expects of herself. I don't know if they're her true desires, right? So
Mm.
here's the thing. We're talking yesterday and she finally just said what like like she accepted. Like I cried at telling her thank you for respecting me,
Yeah.
because she said to me, I think mom and dad know that like you're not the kind of person that's going to take care of them when they're old. Stop. Like if you say it like that, you're like, that's messed up. But
You're
thank
like,
you for
"Well, hopefully I can just pay for somebody else to take care of them."
like I love my parents. I sound selfish and I think like I'm sorry. I just am, and I like can't help it. I like, literally, I've been like this since I was little. Like Tia needs to do what she's here for. Like I have such a, it may just be my soul's mission. I really just really feel pulled by certain things, and other things I'm just like, wait, what do you want me to do? And
But
I'm
it's healthy. It's healthy, and I think that's the thing, and I think for people who don't honor their wants and desires and aren't selfish, it feels very like you're just like, "Oh, how," you kinda project the anger that you feel towards yourself.
yeah, that's like my sister and her friend in
Yeah.
moments, or was like I think like yesterday our conversation was so impactful. I wish you were there because I think you would have had like a lot of these ahas we're having right now. It's like
Yeah.
it was played out yesterday. Like
Yeah.
the friend, like she took my videos online, like how dare you say this to people, like to pursue what they love, and I'm like, how dare I not, like
Right.
people need the reminder. We're
Yeah.
too like there's so many things that like could make us not be who we are. What the hell, I'm gonna tell you to be who you are, now you're mad at me for saying it. But, like I'm
Yeah.
so willfully accepting and really want people to, even if it means like you have to be like you want to be a writer, I'm just saying write in your journal. So it's
Yeah.
like so funny, like, and that projection when you do go for what you desire and you do get I've always gotten a lot of
Pushback,
like
yeah.
always my whole life. And so it's made me much more of a fighter and so much more in some way selfish. It's because
Mhm.
I'm like, no, like don't take this away. Now it's funny, like when my sister said that about my parents, like she wasn't saying it in a critical way. She was just saying like, you just know who you are. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm not saying I won't help my parents. Like I'll be seeing my dad, taking care of him as much as I can. It doesn't make you, it's not like I'm selfish as a constant. It's the idea that I
You put
still
yourself first.
yes, I still need to do that because I don't want to go to my parents' house pissed or resentful or
Yes.
mad that I You put me here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You didn't
Yeah.
let me. And I'm sure our parents, our family members, our friends don't want to feel like, oh, like, did I stop Fiona from pursuing her thing? I told her she was a great hairdresser this whole time. I was telling her to just stay here. Nobody wants to feel like they stopped you, even when
Right.
they're projecting. You know what I'm saying? So
Correct. Yeah.
you
And
have to be your own advocate.
yeah, totally. And I think it's really healthy for the people around you, especially if you're a mom. Like, I think about my kids, I have a daughter now, and I'm like, do I ever want my daughter to not feel safe to say, oh, I need to do this, or I want to do this, or I want to, go do this or that? Like, no. So, how is she going to learn that behavior if I'm not showing her the example of what it could look like in a healthy, safe, kind way? Like, even with the boys, like I was getting ready to do this and they're like, "Oh, I thought you would have time to make me a sandwich." And I was like, "If you can either make your sandwich yourself or you can wait till I'm done because I have a commitment right now." And they're just like, "Okay." Whereas in the past, I would have felt sad and guilty that like I couldn't do every single thing for them and be like, "Oh, okay, I can do it really fast. I'll just text Tia and let her know that I'm gonna be late." I'm like, "No, sorry, you knew I had a call at 10:30." And that's
Good for you. That makes me like, yes, yes. That's
it's
how I like it
important
when
for
I
them
grow.
too, It's important
When
for
I grow
them
up to
too.
be a mom. When I grow up to be a mom.
When you were a big
I'm
girl.
like, I'm like, I'm gonna be 31. I'm like, when I grow up.
Well, I
So
I was just a child bride, so,
I
don't pay attention to me.
I mean, God bless you. Like, it's like so funny. I do realize there is like, so here's the thing. It's like the desire thing too. I think that when we're younger, a lot of our desires are decided for us. And I think like,
Mm,
maybe you did want to be a mom when you were younger. I don't know. Maybe you just didn't know it. Like, you don't know what you desire. You're young. You're like, okay, I'll be a
mhm.
mom. Like, that sounds nice. I love it. I don't know how your experience was that.
Yeah.
But I think that desire also doesn't have to be anything with career, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
nothing to do with it really
It
can be
could be
anything. Like,
simple. It could be
so
so
simple.
simple, and people push it aside because 'cause they're like, "Oh, it doesn't matter." It's just, like, silly, you know?
Oh, no, it's silly. Oh my
It's
God. I
not
just like,
silly.
oh, the little
But
girl
you know
inside
what
of me is
I
like, no,
mean?
it's not silly.
It could be the smallest thing, and yeah, it's like pursue that. Don't push it aside. Don't put yourself aside. Like the most important thing is yourself.
Oh, yes. Yes. I am so here for this generation, man. You have no idea.
I know. I say to my kids, to my boys all the time, I'm like, "Oh, I can't wait till your generation runs the world." And they're like, "Yeah?" I'm like, "Yeah, because you guys are gonna flip it all. Like it's starting to flip, but I even see my kids, like, their ideas of things are just like, "Mom, why don't you do this?" Or like, "Can we do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah. Oh, yeah, I like it." It's like so out of the box. Like I encourage the out of the box, and sometimes I'll ask my husband, I'm like, Am I too much?" And he was like, "Yeah, but it's okay."
Yeah, it's so great. Like, there is a mom I follow on Instagram and Facebook who like is not like a celebrity. She's just like a local person, but she says like she does this thing where she does hashtag say yes. So she
Mm,
says yes to her kids. She says yes to life.
yeah.
She says yes to opportunity. And actually, I really want to implement that because I've gone through some failure the last few years. My desire and I mean, failure, quote unquote. I've been through my transitions, right?
Right.
I being in this bachelorette party on Saturday and being able to let loose and stuff, I haven't obviously for a long time, especially the pandemic. But like, I was just like, F it. Like, I'm not gonna let money hold me back. Like, all these things are coming up in my head
Yes.
because I'm like, life is kind of expensive. But I'm like, no, you know what? What are my desires? And I'm gonna tell you this because this is a perfect example of me limiting my desires. And I was doing it unconsciously. So I'm gonna share this because I think
I love
a
it.
lot of people probably would feel this way. I have a boyfriend who's older than me. You know this. My family is not super accepting. They're slowly easing up on it. Blah blah blah. Okay. Um, I'm not financially where I want to be. Okay. He's better where he is financially, but still, we both are not exactly where we'd like to be. Okay. So this whole time, I've always wanted a big fucking wedding. Okay. I have always wanted a party. If you've known, you don't know this about me, Fiona, because you've only known for a year, but since I was little, I had a party for everything. And I'm not joking. Like,
I
all
know. I believe it because your Jupiter is a third line. You're literally here to party. That's your life.
I'm all about a party. I celebrated everything. I'm telling you, I remember my 7th birthday where my parents didn't have a big birthday. I was like, what? The next year, I'm not even joking. The next year, we tore down Chuck E. Cheese. I had 50 people. I asked everybody to get me the same Barbie. I got the Scotch Spice Barbie 7 times, and I did 3 of them. I was like, nobody's getting away from celebrating my birthday. So I was like, forget it. I mean, and then like everything, my 16th birthday, my 15th. I mean, I've had themed birthdays all through my 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 25 having like a porn party, like where we all had like a fun, raunchy, like I had porn on the wall. I had like a water penis. I mean, like I have done like all the fun things because I was like, you only live once. You know, like in my head, I just want to give people a good experience for fun.
Right, right.
And so I'm thinking to myself, this whole time I'm thinking maybe we shouldn't get married. Weddings are so expensive. It's so impractical. Da, 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 da. And I came back from the Bachelorette and I'm like, George, I need you to propose to me. I want a party. I was like, I don't care. It could be in Mexico. It could be here. I want my friends and family though. It's not optional. So if
Yeah.
like, I don't get, we'll find the money. I don't know. I'll piss it out. I really don't care. Like, I was like, I'm not gonna like, and the thing is, the reason my desire dwindled unconsciously was because my family is having a hard time accepting my boyfriend.
Yeah.
I'm like, how would I be able to afford a wedding just by myself? And I kept thinking that like I'd
You had
have to do it all myself.
expectations. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And then I'm like, no, you know what? Tia's going to go back to stubborn Tia, who she was in high school, who went abroad, who didn't ask my parents, just told them I'm going and they're paying for it. I was like, I don't care. Like, I have started, and this is so privileged. And I recognize it. It's bad in the sense of like, you know, it's like I'm limitless, like, forget it. But there are just some things I'm just not willing to sacrifice
Mm-hmm.
because I have these desires. And it's not so much that I need a big wedding. I need a fun time with my friends and family, and I want a celebration of love. And I told George, I'm not willing to skip that step. Figure it out. And
Poor George. Every time you go somewhere or talk to somebody, you're like, listen, George, I need you to get your shit together.
you know who I am. And
Little Tia. It's like, listen.
I imagine my little girl be like, let me tell you, okay? And her like, I was always a dress girl. I wore tons of dress. I'm like very princess, very Leo South mode. I mean, just always like my life. And I've been like that since I was like, and it's so funny. Like, you know, so I do have some of those desires. And I think that you just try and make reality like, you know, and I get it.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we do have to make reality fit to life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to have a $3 million wedding when I don't have $3 million. But
Right. Right.
it needs to just, your desire in some way I think needs to be met in some way. It just
Yeah.
needs to be, that desire needs to be fed.
Yes. Yes.
So
I love that. So
I
I think this is a great place to finish up. And I think, our little homework for everybody is, get clear. Take some quiet time. Maybe journal, maybe take a walk by yourself, listen to some music, whatever brings you joy. Get quiet and really dig in and figure out what it is that you desire. It could be big, it could be little, it could be, just something. Just start to reconnect with yourself and see what it is that you really, really want.
really like that. And I would even say if people want to take it a step further, I would say do that. And then like you could do categories, you know, what do you
Mm,
desire in love? What do you desire
yes.
in your personal life? What do you desire
Yes.
in work? What do you desire in like, you know, just general theme, you know? But so it's
Love
like,
it.
because I think sometimes all those things get muddled together.
Yeah. Yep.
You don't unrealize like, well, I'm a mom, I can only desire this. And it's like, no, no,
Right.
no, what do you desire for yourself, for your
Right.
family, for your work, all the things.
Yeah. For your partner.
So
Love it.
I love that. This was so fun. It made me so excited. I'm actually gonna do the exercise myself.
Yay. I'm going to do it too.
I had 60 degrees in Chicago today, and I'm like, where is the outdoor cafe?
Hell yeah.
Environment like you and human design. I'm like, I need to be in the
Yes.
pub,
You need to
bringing
be
my
with the
journal.
people. Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
I love
So
it. All right, perfect. Well, if you guys had fun watching, make sure you subscribe and click on your notifications so that you can stay up to date on all of our future videos.